Calling the meeting to order at 6:35 p.m. Welcome to the March 16, 2026 meeting of the Library Commission. This is a hybrid meeting with commissioners, city staff, and members of the public participating in person at the Arriaga Family Rec Center in accordance with public health guidelines for in-person meetings and the public participating remotely. I'll start with the roll call. Commissioners present include Dave Abdullah, Ken Crockett, Carol Gordon, that's me, Chair, Sarah Sisbach, Scott Schaefer, Brian Westcott, our Vice Chair, and Daniel Mule. And staff present right now is Assistant Library and Community Services Director Nick Shenka and Library and Community Services Supervisor Rose Waldman. And later,
We're supposed to be joined later by Internal Services Manager Ryan Singh.
great. Nick will be helping to facilitate the meeting. Nick, will you please take a moment and provide instructions to the commission and members of the public in attendance on how the meeting will proceed?
Thank you, Chair. For members of the public who are attending this meeting virtually and wish to provide public comment, after the chair calls for public comment on the item you wish to speak on, please use that raise hand feature at the bottom of your Zoom screen. For those who are calling in, please press *9 to raise your virtual hand. Members of the public attending remotely who wish to speak, please take a moment to make sure your first and last name are updated on Zoom, or you can provide your name and the spelling if you are called to speak. It's not required, but we do greatly appreciate it. Public comment will be heard in the order received and is limited to 3 minutes in length. For those of the members of the public attending in person, there's some speak cards right here on the table. Please take one completed and turn it into me before public comment is called for the item you wish to speak on. And with that, I will return the meeting back to the chair.
All right, under public comment, item C, the public may address the commission on any subject that is not listed on the agenda. Each speaker may address the commission once under public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. We are not required to provide your name or city of residence, but it is helpful. Commission cannot act on items not listed on the agenda. Therefore, the commission cannot respond to non-agenda issues brought up in public comment other than to provide general information. Do we have any public comment on items not appearing on the agenda?
Any public comment? Not see any hands online.
Do we have people?
We do, we have an attendee.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Under D, regular business, the library commission considers recommendations from city staff with policy matters or administrative actions that require library commission approval. So our next item is D1 to approve the minutes from the February 23, 2026 meeting. Nick, do we have any public comment on this side?
Would anyone wish to make a public comment on item D1, approving the minutes? Seeing no comment.
Does anybody have any comments or discussion about the minutes from the last meeting? Would a commissioner like to make a motion to approve the minutes? Okay, then Commissioner Buell, with Commissioner Crockett seconding.
Great, we'll go ahead and do a roll call. This is to approve the minutes from the February 23rd, 2026 Library Commission meeting. Commissioner Abdullah, how do you vote? Yes. Commissioner Crockett, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Sisbach, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Chair Westcott, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Buell, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Chair Orton, how do you vote?
Yes. I assume this is a little typo, but
Yes, I fixed that. Thank you for pointing that out. Somehow we can have budget as budget, which is not good. So we fixed that.
great, thank you. The next item is D2, the report out from the ad hoc subcommittee on the library of the future. So I'll let either Commissioner Westcott or Commissioner Crockett give a brief intro, and then we'll see if there's any public comment. I don't have any.
I would, the list of improvements is included in the packet. We did meet with staff, to determine, we're really waiting on the budget, to see which of these items might be included in the budget for next year, and then from that, they proceed. So that was
Yeah,
you know, agreements we have.
and the only thing I read is that this coming weekend is the city council workshop on priority setting, and so that might also have an impact on what
Mhm.
happens next, depending on whether they decide to prioritize. the
Right.
library. Okay, anybody else have any comments or questions on this? Guess we do need to ask for the comment.
Are there any public comments on item D2, the Library of the Future ad hoc subcommittee report out? Seeing no comments, you can proceed.
Next is a report out from the ad hoc subcommittee on District 1 library outreach. We'd like to ask the subcommittee to make a brief introduction, then we can take public comment, have a discussion. Anybody have anything to report from that subcommittee?
We met, there's only 3 weeks since our
I know.
big one, so we met and we've identified a couple of action items in terms of like meeting out with other groups, and so we're proceeding along that front, and we'll have more to report probably next meeting.
Great. Any public comment?
Any public comment on item D3, the ad hoc subcommittee report out on District 1 library outreach? Seeing no comment.
Okay, anybody else have anything to say or any questions for the subcommittee? All right, we'll move on. Now we're on item E, informational items. These are items that are transmitted to the Library Commission in staff's effort to provide an update on matters of importance to the commission. Informational items are not action items. However, a commissioner, city staff member, or a member of the public may request to make a comment or ask a question on any of the informational items. So maybe we need to skip to E2. So are you gonna cover?
I can, but I'd like to see if Ronnie is going to be here for this meeting. So if you want to have her available, and it's not like she won't ever be available again, she's here.
Well, why don't we move on to other things and we come back if she arrives, and if she doesn't arrive, then have you cover it. Okay,
Sounds good.
okay. And then we can start with E2, library and community services, department statistics and updates.
Yeah, really quickly, this is our regular department statistics and updates. This is one of the quarterly ones in which we publish the questions and answers that we receive through the suggestion box. So I usually find those kind of interesting reading to see what people are writing in about and what they're concerned about. Hopefully you enjoy that as well. But other than that, it is the same sort of statistical update that we give everyone. So happy to answer questions that there are.
I have a couple questions, but maybe we should ask for public comment first.
Sure.
And then we can get everybody's questions.
Are there any comments on item E2, the library and community services department statistics and updates? Seeing no comments. Cool. Back to you.
Anybody? Okay,
Okay.
Have you guys asked your questions first?
Just with respect to the Q and A, I noticed a lot fewer comments regarding the pool hours. Has that, I know that there was some tension there for quite a while. Is that being resolved and has it moved on to the tennis courts now, or is
Well,
still ongoing?
yes and no. So there were a lot of comments at the end of the year because the operator had reduced hours.
Mhm.
And so the city stepped up at the end of September and is now sort of filling the gap for those hours. So the hours are back to 63 hours a week at the Bellhaven pool, and now I think it's 93 hours a week. I think they added more hours at the Burgess pool. So but aquatics in general is not is still a lively topic. And in fact, there's a study session on the 24th, the next city council meeting, which is a week from tomorrow, over at the campus on aquatics and sort of having the council give us some direction on the next steps.
Thank you.
Oh, just a quick question. I noticed that the library foot traffic gate count, for the main library in February, like jumped up to 26,966. So I was just wondering if that was something, was there an event or?
Well, I think what happened is we were having some issues with our.
Oh, yeah. No, it's, yeah, it's,
So-
we've been having issues with the gates.
So that's
Okay.
why, yeah, so we
Okay.
weren't able to keep them, yes,
Yeah.
it popped up and yes, it's
That was
because.
when the gates got fixed.
Yeah, the gates had not been working, well, the gates were working, they just weren't talking with the
Oh,
portal that keeps the
Right.
stats.
Right. So,
So which one's accurate? Do we know? I mean, did you really have 26,000 people?
I think so.
well, yeah,
And so the other ones were undercounting, or you just having a lot more people come in February?
We can take a look at it,
yeah, let's look at it.
because that does seem sort of something anomalous.
Suspicious.
Yeah.
I know.
I mean, if you look at the whole trend
Yeah,
of the entire
look at
year.
it.
Maybe we fixed it too much.
Yeah.
Well, or it's counting outs and in.
Yeah, it's only supposed to count people in one direction.
Yeah,
That would explain it.
That would-
So that might be.
That's not-
it's looking like a double count.
if you asked me to guess. If you say double, then I think outs and ins.
Yeah.
I'm gonna-
Occam's reason.
And then one other question on these stats. Again, it changed back in December, but I just happened to notice it. When you look at the total, Menlo Park resident card holders.
That I have an answer about.
Okay, it's gone from 25,000 down to 15,000 December, January, February, so we lost
Which is,
10,000.
which is a significant drop. Occasionally, PLS purges cards that haven't been used in a certain amount of time.
Okay,
Years,
Multiple years.
so we
well,
can't
yeah,
brag
so
anymore
they
that
would
we
be-
have
they would be
24,000 card holders.
Well, we could give.
no,
it-
it would be expired cards that haven't been renewed in a number of years.
Okay,
I can look at exactly what the number of years is, it'll be in the PLS clerk manual.
Maybe 3, I get asked to renew my address every 3 years.
Yeah.
No, right, but I think, yes, it is 3 years that we set as the date for the card to expire. But I'm saying that there's gonna be a certain amount of period after a card expires, before which the expunging happens,
And I think
exactly.
it's,
And it is significant,
it's 5 or 7 years in my.
that's
So
um,
it's a while.
so this feels like it's more accurate.
that is more accurate, yes.
Okay,
So that's an easy answer. Easy, that is an answer that we looked at those numbers and went, and then we went,
okay. So, anybody else have any questions?
Just a comment, I guess, would it be possible to formulate the data in terms of a line chart rather than a table, or perhaps having both? Oh, okay, great, both a line chart and a table. I don't know how difficult this would be. If it's like if it's a big deal,
Well,
it doesn't have to happen. It'd be a lot easier to see these trends that we're talking
Yeah.
about, rather than having to like, okay, did this one go up, did that one go down?
So like a bar chart or a line chart?
A line chart, a time series chart
Time
specifically.
series chart, okay.
well, another, I guess a follow-up question, because that's definitely what, I mean, that came up in our meeting as well, when we were looking at like, well, is it seasonal?
Yeah.
Is this public data that we could pipe into visualization, or do we have to ask for visualization and then be able to see that?
We could give you the data, it is public data, it's not, I mean, almost.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it's a public data,
No.
it's publicly accessible.
Oh, no, it's not on a printed
It's
somewhere.
Okay.
completely accessible. It is in fact part of the integrated library system that we use, which is owned by DLS. And it contains a great deal of very private data that we do not share.
But the data that we have here, the reports, is absolutely
Yes.
shareable.
Yes,
We collect it. It would not be hard to get it to you if you wanted to do whatever you wanted to do with it, or I could talk to Ashley, our management analyst, and see if it would be possible for her to. She likes to visualize things in ways that are easier to read and easier to use if you want to use it, so.
Yeah,
I'll
I'm
ask her.
sorry.
I will ask her.
And Commissioner Rosen?
Yeah, I just had a question about the library program attendance and room usage, for the conference rooms and tutor rooms, which I assume are in HCC.
Correct.
At the library. Um. Since it's so low in the usage for the reservations, I just wonder really, do people know about its availability, or how are you doing that communications? So that people know, and perhaps maybe to the schools, or to just target, maybe some targeted communications to encourage use. In places that you feel like would be a good fit.
Yes, the conference room, I think is larger, the tutor rooms,
It's really only for rental by nonprofit organizations that are hyper local.
Yeah.
This is at Bellhaven,
this is
right?
at Bellhaven,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
tutor-
are you, I guess my question
Yeah.
is, I would feel
Right.
like it would get reserved by those eligible.
So the
People
question
and
is always-
organizations.
Yeah, the question is always, well, do we publicize and have people come in who are not hyper local? Or do we keep the space available for people to walk in and use it? And that's sort of the great debate of the space of that building.
And who's like, what? Or who's determining, or how are you determining that? Cause it seems like a low usage is a shame.
Yeah, but I think the focus at the community campus in general is on the Bellhaven community. So we heard a lot from neighborhood residents when we were planning the building, that they wanted to have spaces where they could just come in and have a meeting, or come in and do a quick Zoom call or something. And so we've seen play out over the first year plus of the campus's existence, trying to really sort of hold the line on making sure that we are meeting the needs of the Bellhaven community. And we're a little cautious about cracking it open too much. When I'm over there, I usually see the tutor room in use more. And not the conference room, and that makes sense, because the conference room is say this size, right? It's not really appropriate for just a one-on-one
What
session.
happens with the conference room is that the city uses it, it's being used for a breakout session, or for the closed session
For city council, when they have meetings there, commission
we have
there sometimes.
counselors come over and have office hours over there. We also are allowing, spaces at a premium in the building, and so more and more Rondell is asking whether we can host classes in there.
And I don't know if those internal bookings show up on the stats. That's
Yeah, we
something I
should check in on that,
Yeah.
cause it's
Seems like-
in use, and we use it for like library events and stuff,
Book
so.
clubs, yeah.
But it is true that we have very few rentals in that space, mostly because it's not actually a very suitable space for the kind of rental that community organizations want. So, I mean,
They usually.
maybe what we
What are
should,
the hyper local nonprofits who are eligible to reserve these spaces? Maybe that's the better question to ask, cause would it be the Boys and Girls Club or
Yes.
Bellhaven
Bellhaven
School,
Bellhaven
elementary,
neighborhood,
and,
neighborhood association.
Yeah.
Yeah, all those.
and they know that this is available to them? I guess that was sort of my question,
Yeah.
like,
Yes,
Are
they
you-
do, but a lot of times, I think because that conference room,
it only holds this many people,
it holds like 10 people.
and they wanna do events for big groups of people, so what they'll do is they'll rent the flex classroom.
Yeah, which is
Or
20 people, 25 people. And that's the one right at the top of the stairs, the flex classroom, right when you come up the stairs.
so it's possible that what we need to do at some point, and we are internally, we are talking about, okay, well, we've been open for almost 2 years. It's probably time to assess how things are going, because we have enough data points at this point, hopefully to at least see sort of what's working, what's not working, so that's something that I need to get scheduled right now. But that's already something we're talking about, perhaps what we really need to talk about is, well, when Bellhaven Library was a separate entity, there was a great deal of demand for use of the event room at the old Bellhaven Library. Two things are different. The event room at the old Bellhaven Library held a lot of people. This conference room does not. The other thing that's different is that this new building has bigger event spaces that the same entities that wanted to use the Bellhaven Library event space, when it was the only space that was over there that was available, they're now going to the other rentable spaces in BHCC, which is great. Like, we're serving that need, I believe. Granted, that's not my side of the house. But so what that looks like is maybe we need to look at, okay, well, if what was seen as a huge demand, it was by far the thing that I got asked for the most from the old Bellhaven Library. If that demand has gone to some of the other spaces in the building, then what should we be using this conference room for?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, no, good question. Thank
I have a follow-up question about that. You mentioned the tutor room, in there. So the percentage of usage is pretty low on that, 21%. But I think you mentioned, are people just like popping in there while it's not in use? Like, in practice, what does the usage look like? Do you have a sense of that?
We do ask them to, book it, if they're hopping in, we'll say, let us look to see if the space is gonna be used, and what happens is that if there are people who walk in, staff will just put a booking on for them, but
Mhm.
what we need to check. If you.
It's whether those internal bookings show up in lease stats.
Yeah.
That's what
Then
I'm not.
it's filled.
Okay, so you would be adding one. And then one more question that's only tangentially related, but it came up when we were discussing at our meeting. There's a teen room there.
Yes.
What does the usage of that look like? So that is not captured here
Yeah.
at all. And in the initial report, the
It's-
plan for
It's
it.
wild.
It's crazy.
Oh,
But it's also very prescribed by time. So
Right.
it's like when the kids get out of school, 10 minutes after the kids get out of school until probably 6.
Yeah,
6:30.
When it's time to go home for
So
dinner.
3:30 to 6:30, it's packed.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it is being used.
10 to 20 teens at any given
Yeah.
time.
Okay,
that's
oh, great.
fantastic.
Great,
How
great.
come it's not listed as one of the rooms?
Because it's not one that we rent out,
It's not
it's not
rental.
one that you can reserve, because it's just for the teens.
Hmm.
So we don't,
It's just a teen room.
it's a teen.
It's
True.
it's like if we listed the children's room.
So how would you track the usage of, I mean, if it's important to track the usage of how many people are using spaces or per.
I mean, that's
We
what I.
do hourly counts too, that,
Yeah, we could see,
the
I
website.
I know that rent room is opposite, right?
Yeah, you can reserve it.
But you can't, but it's not a rental.
Technically, yes. It's
They
just a
have to pay
free
to
rental,
use it.
It's free. No, you don't have,
but it's a space that's reservable by the public.
Okay, where the teen room is just open.
It's just part of the library, it's just like the teen room at this library, it's just that it has more walls. Which is nice.
This came up in our conversation because we did look through all the initial questions and surveys for Bellhaven, and then teens was a non-trivial.
oh no,
Online.
it is well used. In fact, a
Yeah.
lot of times it sort of spills out from the teen room and we have to sort of
Well, yeah,
do
there's.
things onto the makerspace,
This
makerspace patio,
Um,
things like that, so
But yeah, I mean,
super well.
it's not just that, I mean, it's two factors. One, these are latchkey kids, their parents are at work. So, like, where are they gonna go out? the other is that that side of the city, as we know, has very few other resources. So while the kid over here on this side might go any number of places after school,
Outside of Walgreens.
hanging out outside Walgreens. Yes, I have seen them there. Like, they're either gonna go to Kelly Park and mess around there, or I'm gonna go to Starbucks, I guess, or whatever, but like, it is. The teens who hang out, this is something that Ella and I were talking about, I think, on Friday. The teens who hang out at the library here are library teens. Like, they wanna be in the library because they're kind of nerdy and they like libraries. The teens who hang out at the library there are neighborhood teens. And they wanna be in the space because it is cool and safe and like there's a roof and like hopefully also some entertainment and they can be there for free.
Yeah, I mean, in our visits last year to Los Gatos in particular, the teen area was exploded
Yeah.
in the same way, so I mean, I don't think it has, it's a place to find community and do your,
Yeah,
whether you're not, you're doing homework or
it's-
whatever.
It is the space that it's that's available to them.
Yeah,
Which is great.
right,
But yeah, there's way higher teen traffic over there than there is over here. There are simply more options for teens to do things over here. So, not to say that there aren't library teens over there, of course there are, but it's like. At our library here, those teens might be spread all around the library for one thing, is that the library there is also smaller.
yeah,
And also, the kids who wanna be doing something else there are other things to do.
but are there programs being run at the branch during those times when you know you have teens coming?
Yeah.
As much as
Like,
possible.
Yeah, we do,
Yeah.
we have teen media days.
Yeah,
Where they have games or movies that they're
we
showing.
got a teen advisory
Teen
group,
advisory group,
um,
we have, the
we got makerspace stuff.
makerspace things. We sometimes, the rec folks will come and coach the teens to go and do stuff there.
We love it when they do that.
Because
Sometimes there's cooking stuff,
cooking
sometimes there's
things, basketball, so they'll basically, if they see the teens.
Especially if it's getting like really
If
rowdy.
it's getting too rowdy, they'll grab them and take them and occupy them. In more productive ways than wrestling things, yes. Pretty active over there right after
Yeah.
school, it's like 3:30.
Even earlier, sometimes school gets out. at
Wednesday,
3:30.
yeah, Wednesday is the early release day,
They'll show up and
but usually,
over.
like on Fridays even, which I don't think is a particularly busy day, but that's the regular day that I'm over. At the campus, I'm leaving around 3:30 when the teens are just meeting. I don't think Friday is a particularly busy day over there, it's usually a little lighter this weekend. Yes, but so Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, like 3:30. Check it out, it's pretty busy.
We've ever been there, during the teen hours, not to, see what it's like.
wow.
Okay.
Active, let's say active, I like active,
It's a good thing.
it's really good.
The space is being used.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
Great.
a bright story.
Exactly what
yeah,
we want.
that's a great
It's a
story.
bright story that only comes out with experience though, given, I mean, throw a lot of statistics in there,
Yeah.
but it's a missing story.
Yeah. You do a better job talking.
I mean, it's a hard one, they're not renting,
Yeah. But that's
They're using the
definitely
library.
being
well,
used
yeah, I mean,
for the purpose that it was designed.
yeah, I mean. it's just frustrating.
yeah, I think it's a good point to highlight the usage of, even if it's not like a room or whatever, because it is a new space.
I mean,
And so it's important
Yeah.
that the community understand it's getting really utilized.
Yeah, I think we should check into whether when they do those walk around head counts, they're counting the teen zone as a separate room or not, or.
Yeah,
it's
or
counting
just counting the library.
Library.
Would it be captured in the foot traffic, the gate count? Or-
Well, I mean, it
Yeah, I
is,
don't
in
know
the
how
sense,
much
the
has
gate
to
count is everybody who comes in.
Well,
Yeah,
now that you
So,
have.
so you can see, for example, times for gate count, but we can't see,
yeah,
demographic, like, this is a teenager.
right.
We're not that smart.
We don't want to.
We don't wanna be doing
Yeah.
that.
No.
Type scams.
But we'll look into it and see if we can get, because I know that the front desk staff at the campus does every hour get up and walk around and count everybody in every area. And so hopefully.
I
they
mean,
are
if they could,
in this
if they
setup.
aren't doing it, if it wouldn't be too much trouble for them to start, that would be very helpful.
And I guess again, then now, I don't know whether it's. Now that I'm thinking about it, the children's library. You've got the different gate count and do you have the same phenomena? You know, just
After school.
after school, or is it
Yeah, I mean-
not quite the same and then
It's-
you have that
It's,
space?
yes, we have, I mean. School age kids tend to come in after school. That said.
Well, if they can, you know, they're.
Yeah, it's not, the drama, the dramatic. Like. No one's in the teen zone, everyone's in the teen zone is not really reflected, I mean. For one thing, throughout the day, you have people in the children's room, because there are children who are too young to go to school.
Right.
And. So there are more teens, or there are more children just throughout the day. But also, there are fewer children who come after school, I'd say, than there are teenagers. Partially because the youth center is next door. And a lot of the children from. Like Beechwood, for example, are enrolled at the youth center. So, those are kids.
Every day.
Yeah, so those are kids who might otherwise be. In a library if there were only a library there. But fortunately, there is a whole youth program right next, literally next door. So that probably honestly drops the library use numbers a little bit, but it doesn't. Drop the service we're providing to the population, so that's good.
And I'd say the children's library usage also sort of goes up and down around event times. So when we're running weekend events or weeknight events, goes up, for story times.
That's come into story times.
Yeah.
We good? We'll do the wrap
Good
up.
talks, no, it's great, it's all good stuff.
I think we should circle back and go to the financial overview, D or E1.
Okay.
It looks like for is we not coming.
Little big shapes, not sure how. So, let me pull up the report. I'll just do a quick intro and then we can kind of dive in, because I think you guys will probably have some questions about some stuff. So. My usual caveats here in that it is still early in the budget season, but so what we did, and we're sort of trying to figure out. Almost like a cadence for talking to you guys about budget. So what we thought we would do with our first kind of it's not really it's not an info drop or anything, but it's the first set of things is to sort of look back. And Ryan prepared this report where we were looking back at the past few fiscal years. And using the budget portal, so she's not using any secret sauce to get this information. That way, if you guys wanted to see how she got it, we could have her come in and show you how she got it. Because it is a little tricky sometimes to pull the information that's just library out of the budget report, as I think you guys have some experience with. And also to note that, we still have going in another part, in another item, we were a little later on, the E3, the budget process and timeline item, still updating that and sort of giving you like, here's what's coming next. I think I added a bunch of the capital improvement project dates to that, so you guys can kind of get a feel for where that comes along, because that's of interest to the Enterprise Subcommittee talking about capital projects. All right, so this is just expenditures, personnel, operating expenses, capital expenses, and revenues. It's a pretty high level overview. I know you're gonna give me some questions, almost tell where you're going to ask me questions, but that's okay. So just wanted to give this to you as sort of a, it's not an amuse bouche, but it's kind of like that. It's like here's some of what we can get, and ask me questions and see if there's something else that you're like this way or that way on this information, because that will bring some stuff back next month or the month following as we move sort of through the budget creation cycle. So I'll stop there and I will stop sharing, but I will go back to that document for the two. See if we have any public comment.
Yeah, let's start with your public comments, so we don't forget that.
Is there any public comment on item E1, the Library and Community Services Department Financial Overview - Library? Seeing no public comment.
All right. So we'll open it up to the questions from the commission. So, Nick. Anybody?
Oh, okay, I'll
I've
start.
got some. If you guys don't have questions, I can point out some things. I know this.
The biggest thing that jumped out to me, well, there are two related things, I guess, is the increase in operating expenses. Which you sort of, or whoever, or this sort of mentioned, it's due to temporary staff hours and so on and so forth. But that coincided with a reduction in full-time equivalent staff at the same time. And I was wondering what the relationship between those two things were, if you can shed any light on that.
Absolutely, so, the time period that we're talking about, and let me go back to sharing the screen. So we can do this. So the time period that we're talking about is 21-22, fiscal year 21-22 to 25-26. So the year that just, no, the year that we're in now.
Yeah.
Like the year that just finished, but we haven't finished yet. So if you remember, 2021 was COVID.
That's true.
And 2021 is when the Library and Community Services Departments merged.
Right.
So that has much to do with some of these up and down numbers. So what happened when we merged is, after a while, we started to change how staff were distributed between teams, taking some of the teams that were some of the sort of admin staff from some teams and putting a sort of admin team together. So some of that reduction in staff is, I think it was me. I'm trying to think who it was. It was me,
Well, Ronnie,
and
Winnie,
Winnie. So some of our admin team who were in the library,
Right.
or library admin team, then became sort of admin team for the LCS department. And so they didn't fall under this budget category that's just called library.
Is the various people you just described, are their salaries still counted under the library then? Or are you?
No,
So the library staff expenditures have gone up during that time.
right.
So that means that those people were replaced by what?
Well, those people weren't replaced.
Or,
What happened is we added a lot more hourly staff to the team.
I see.
Partly because we were, during that time from 21-22 to now, running a whole new library, which we staff at a higher level than we did before, when it was one room, because it's 2 floors. And so we need more staff to cover we used to be able to get away with, we used to have a minimum of 2 staff at the old Bellhaven Bridge Library.
Right.
And now our minimum is,
Well, minimum is 3.
bare minimum is 3, but 4
But
is
3 is
usually
right.
what we do. Because you need somebody breaks and to cover lunches and somebody calls out and this and that. So, that
Also,
explains some of that.
classifications also.
Those positions that cover Belhaven, are those largely hourly positions? Are they salaried positions?
Everybody,
We staff interchangeably.
yeah,
Oh,
so there aren't
We don't
Bellhaven
have
staff
Bellhaven
and main libraries.
right, but I mean, like, you're saying that you had an increased need for staff,
Oh,
basically,
yes.
right? So when you added more staff members, were they full-time,
Well, the
sort
state
of,
gave us 1 FTE.
right?
3. One of which was the.
Us, the library, 1 FTE.
One
Right.
for the
So
library.
that's 1 FTE,
Right.
and
And then,
any other additional coverage would be hourly.
yeah, gotcha, okay.
And you
That
asked for
makes a lot of sense.
3.
Yes,
They gave
The
you
total ask was for 6 positions for the new BHC. And so we got 3. Of those 6 positions we asked for,
I believe that we asked for 2 for library.
were for library. So,
I had initially asked for 3, but I believe that we went with an official ask for 2 out of 6. Yeah, also, if you're looking at total staffing costs, one of the things to note is that we staff at a higher qualification level now. So,
so we used to, before the pandemic, have a greater range of sort of job positions,
Mhm.
starting at the very
like library page.
entry level, a library
Very
page, then a library clerk, 1, 2, and then a library assistant,
Right,
and then librarians. We found coming out of the pandemic that it was really difficult to hire people in at the library page and library clerk levels. The
they
salaries
could get the same amount of money working at In-N-Out.
and have fewer skills,
More money.
I would say. More money and fewer skills from doing service industry jobs than the library clerk position was sort of frontline public service position. So
So
we
now we staff at
adjusted.
library assistant and librarian level only.
And
so
library
it's more-
assistant is, you'd have a degree or something for them?
No, but you need to have experience and we require more of a library assistant than a library clerk.
Gotcha.
So- And
But it's still hourly.
it's still an hour. We have benefited library assistants as well.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm so sorry, you just went over, but I
Sorry.
missed it, so the $7 million increase between, so I know it's confusing a little with the merge, but what's the main driver behind the increase? And then you just went over the stuff, but I didn't get it.
Um,
7.
Well,
For the whole
11.83 million to 19.35.
Oh, you're, okay, you're.
That's the whole department.
Alright,
That's the whole.
that's the
Yeah.
entire department, which.
So that's, I shouldn't be looking at that one.
Look
No,
at
no,
the-
you can look at that one.
It's just not libraries.
Yeah,
Not libraries.
Okay, so the main one is the 3.57.
Yeah.
That's the, okay, I see.
That's the hard part that we had a really tough time.
it
with,
is difficult.
is trying to compare ourselves to similar libraries in the general community. Because we didn't run into any that had this combined administration or combined head of multiple things, like many
confusing.
things. Seniors, children, pools, pickleball. I mean, and so what's hard for me, I don't want to speak for anybody but myself, is to say, well, how do you know how much of your time, the director's time ends up being in the library, or does it all get sucked into pool and pickleball? And so how does the library get what it needs from, when there's this combined department? And how do you parse out the money that goes toward?
That sounds like a panel here. To me. Certainly does.
That's
Shockingly
like-
familiar.
Yeah, Anyway, this is what, even reading this memo, the same questions come up for me as we talked about in our library of the future, is just trying to understand how we compare, you know, hourly versus FTEs and overall staffing and what we offer.
It is made more difficult by the structure of the combined departments. But I can give you sort of the panel interviewee response, which is that my attention is, it's not quite the eye of Sauron moving around from place to place. But I do have to make choices based on issues that are coming up or cycles of the year about what I'm going to give my attention and effort to. How I do that is I look at kind of service to the public is kind of what the public needs. What are, then under that sort of what our departmental mission things are, like what are our guiding guidelines, our strategic plan, our facilities plan, those sorts of things. And then under all of that is kind of my personal, what would you call it? My personal values. So that's how I make decisions about where to put my attention. I think probably the other folks who are at the admin level are doing that same sort of thing. And it's not like I'm like making a chart each time to do it, you know, it doesn't quite work that way. But there are times of year where things are very important. And so what do? I guess the question that comes to that is, well, what do you do when two equal things are happening at the same time? Or is the library getting short shrift in this calculation? And I don't think so. I think that might be a better question for the library staff, if they're getting short shrift. I think we're able to do a pretty good job of making sure that the library staff is supported to get what they need to do the good work that they do. Our staff in general are very capable of letting me know when they need something or when something is begging for some attention. So and I rely on them a lot. I rely on the staff at the library to sort of keep an eye on things and let me know when things rise to the level that I really need to pay more attention to that. So
We are the Prometheans.
yeah, but I do, it's not like I never pop in. I'm over at the library a lot.
Yeah.
It's just that I'm also at other places a lot too. So it is really hard if you were going to compare this organization to one that was just a library. It's really difficult to do. And so you're gonna have to make some sorts of educated guesses about things to do those. It's never gonna be like I can spit out a report that says the library, it's got all of it on it. Because it just doesn't quite work that way.
Well, with Sean's departure, aren't you one admin down anyway? I mean,
We are.
You're covering for your old job and the new and.
Yeah,
for him.
it's sort of the three of us, myself, Ronnie and Natalia Jones are kind of covering for Sean's work areas.
So to be sort of more specific about it, we talked about the library expenditures have gone up a little bit, 3.5 million to 4.1 million ish in the last 5 years. But we've also lost out of there 3 or 4 full-time or probably reasonably high salary compared to other people in the library. That's not being accounted for, but you're still adding value to the library. So we can't really see the full how much the library actually is spending because we're not accounting for the admin people who are shared.
Right.
If we do that, we have to like calculate them and divide it in half or something.
Have to do the lawyer, have to do the lawyer thing of tracking every 15 minutes.
That's right.
Like, every day, some of those 15 minutes are gold and some of them are not gold. So.
But my question is, the department as a whole has gone up 72%. And the library's only gone up 17%. And I remember when we did the report and the comparison, the library had less budget allocation than other equivalent libraries, so. I don't understand why there's such a discrepancy.
Well, I think it's more also about. You have a brand new building, but you have an old. You had a series of old buildings, so that it costs more to run those services, more services. Out of the new building than we were running out of the collection of older buildings. That's my take on it.
But
That's why there's more being spent at other things
Outside
besides
the
the library.
Yeah.
yeah, but it
There's a lot
still
more.
doesn't explain if it's a fair allocation. Cause that means there's two pools and all these other things, but that they're just getting more of the allocation. The total allocation for non-library activity.
Yeah, I guess I don't really think of it that way, like, I don't think of the pools as taking money away from the libraries necessarily, or the seniors taking away from the child care centers. It's just that those services that we are providing more of now for the Bellhaven community, I think they deserved more than we were giving them before. And the question is like, why weren't we doing that before, I guess, rather than why is it so much now? So I don't really look at it as taking from one team to give to another team. It's not really how.
I don't think, yeah, I don't think it's the intent or anybody
No.
who's really
Oh, no.
looking at it that way. It's just more of an accounting sort of transparency thing you can't really see. And it is a function of being all in the same department. You are going to be competing for the overall funds of that department, whether or not you intend to or not. So it's sort of, it makes it very difficult to measure progress or to plan ahead or to do things that are library specific when you don't have that kind of control over, you know, the libraries. And they're very distinct needs
Yeah.
that are different from the other
Yeah, but I guess you could make the same argument about senior services or.
Yeah.
Child development services too, or aquatics for that matter, it's like, you know. Why do we need the library when we want to do that, you know what I mean, it's so, I try not to look at it that way, because I don't think that that's very useful for how. I wanna look at how we're providing services to the community, and I think that's, like I said, that's kind of where I go back to when I'm. Thinking about these things and making decisions. Is that sort of framework of. What am I able to do for the community? What am I able to do? You know, what are our sort of guiding documents, guiding. You know, these discussions that we've had with the staff, with the community about what they want and where we want to go. Those are the two main things that I use. And the other thing is that down here in the where did it go? Revenues and external support section.
Yeah, I was gonna.
Right.
Is there, I get, and I hesitated to put this into print, but I get really, really great support from the Friends of the Library and the Library Foundation. And for part of this period from Literacy Partners. So, and that support is pretty steady and hasn't, and it saved us during the pandemic, for instance, the Friends really bailed us out because there were a lot of cuts. Basically, our entire operating budget was cut during COVID and we had no money to buy anything. And some staff were laid off and we lost almost all of our hourly staff. And the Friends of the Library were able to really help us out because people really needed the library during the pandemic. So in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking, if things get really bad, I still have the Friends and I have the foundation to help me out. And it's actually led me to think that maybe I need Friends organization on the recreation side of the house too. So that's something I'll probably be working on.
Well, follow to that, we talked about the support from those organizations. The next section is about staffing. So in 21-22, you had 14.2 FTE, but down to 11. but then went partway back out to 12.5 FTE. But you're still with a bigger building and, you know, library and 2 floors, et cetera, you're still lower than you were then, and from our discussions with you and feedback. Thing that keeps coming up over and over is that how much more helpful it would be to have FTE instead of hourly, because there's more continuity and there's more buy-in and less turnover, et cetera. So is there any hope to bump that number up again, at least back up to where it was in 21?
There's hope. But like I said, that 14.2 also contained, you know, staff like me and.
Well,
Rodney.
yeah,
So
that's
there's
the thing is, it's.
Kind of
it's the-
smushy, I
the
haven't gone, I'm still
functionality-
here.
A lot of the functionalities, like the work that is being done by Ronnie right now with HR, with policy, with. That's work that the library benefits from, as well as the other divisions, and yes, working for all divisions, she's. Dealing with all that administrative stuff. But yeah, her position is one of those 2 positions, I think, that. It's getting paid out of not 560 anymore, but we're still benefiting from it. Look. You all know that I'm the last person to say, no, we don't need more staff at the library. I would love to have more benefits staff at the library. However, I do think that. Having looked at that 11 and 14.2, both of those, it's like,
How do you get 0.2? And we
Well,
actually dug into that.
and
to find
yeah,
out
so
how
like
to-
the 0.2, for example, is. That we were paying part of the salary of one of our lovely facilities workers.
Somebody's person from Public Works.
Who, we are part of his assignment, is working for the library or working on the library rather. And that back in the day, that was coming out of our pocket. If not. So, but we still get that service from facilities. So the more closely you look at it, the more wiggly it gets in terms of like. It is not a clear cut situation of, oh, well, we had 14.2 people. And then we had 11 people. No, that was like combinations of 0.5, there was a 0.6 in there somewhere. It was weird. And right now, we have 12.5. It's the difference between 12.5 and 14.2 is not very much. It's not
Okay,
even.
but how do you compare the temporary staff hours? You have
The
22.
temp staff hours are not included in that assessment.
I understand, but you have a combination of
Oh.
temp people plus FTEs.
Right, when
And we
we,
got this number here, how does that compare to what your,
I'm so sorry, which are we talking, which number are we talking about?
I'm trying to understand how the number of temporary hours you have now with your 12.5 FTEs, that combination of people, 12.5 FTEs plus your temp
Plus
hours.
10 hours,
How does that compare to what
to what we
you had
had
before?
before. Well, I don't, we would need to, I don't know what the number was for 10 hours before. Cause believe me, it existed.
So there was a number before for temp hours that was significant, because I know that in the last budget, they
Not as significant as
equated
it is
like
now,
2,200 hours.
but I
to-
can tell you, as someone who came on to this
FTE.
library as a temp in 2017, we had them.
Yeah, I would say that it's greater now than it was before. But I have to ask Ronnie to dig it
Yeah.
out for me and find out exactly how many to compare. My guess is it's probably 25 or 30% more now than it was before, because I'm just thinking
That
of
sounds right.
numbers and how often Rose is in recruitment trend mode.
The report does actually say the number of temporary staff hours currently, which is 22 $20,140, we just don't have anything to compare to from the past.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That was my
yeah, so that's
question.
what we need.
Yeah.
So I can go and look and find the 21, 22.
Well, 21, 22 isn't
Oh,
gonna
it's
help
not
you
gonna be
for
real.
people.
Maybe I'll try.
You're gonna want the numbers from
Pre-pandemic.
1890.
It's just-
1890.
You see the frustration of just trying to understand like. How many people are doing the work that you need done then and now, how does it compare to? The perfect library, the library of the future, or the library, you know, the community says, and. I'm just, you know, I was just trying to get a handle on it.
I mean, I think it sounds like there's also some difficulty with kind of comparing. Both comparing numbers in a vacuum looking in from the outside and also shifts in the department structure means that there's a less duplicate work being done by different people. Just as a piggybacking question. Also, you both already said that more staff would always be welcome, but from the inside, working with these numbers, do you feel as though there is sufficient staff to do the work that is needed to do, or are there obvious things where there's something that needs doing or that you want to do that would require more?
There are definitely things that I would like to do that would require more.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean. We're in a public meeting, I don't know that I wanna go into it right now, but there are certain, that I've expressed to. Multiple of you, certain specific things that we simply do not have the staff to do at this point. That said, are we operational? Yes. Are we providing library services successfully to the community in a way that is to a standard that it meets the standard of surrounding areas proportionate to the size of our city? Yes. So there's always more you can do, and yes, there are certain things that I would really like to do that I think would be a benefit to our community. And I would like the extra staff for that, that would be fabulous. Am I saying that we are unable to provide sufficient library services? No. We're providing sufficient library services.
And from sort of a department administrator's view, right, sort of zooming back. If you had to ask me, could we provide some of those services that we're not providing? I'd say, yes, we could, but we have to make
We'd have
some
to try-
choices about some of the other things that we're doing.
Absolutely. You want more outreach? Okay, we'll cut the story time training program.
Yeah, so it's
We
trade.
make choices all the time. Yeah,
I just have a question about the flexibility or interchangeability of someone who is benefited FTE versus the temp. Labor and just whether you can fill, like, there's a limitation with temps in terms of.
yeah.
Starting another program or maintaining a program, leaving a program, whatever, and that is a limitation to the temporary.
No question. The limitations are literal hours. We can't have the hourly staff work more than 18 hours a week. Per
Okay.
staff member.
More than 18,
Each
Is it
staff
that-
member is limited to 980 hours in a year.
yeah,
In order
Okay.
to not max them out before the end of the year, we schedule them for 18 hours a week.
okay,
So they can do more, but then they have to do less.
Correct.
Elsewhere.
that other time, so you could,
I think many of them do not max out that 18 because they aren't available, which leads to the next thing, which is. Our hourly staff. Aren't necessarily even available 18 hours a week.
so you have.
They have
inconsistency of-
very, very
Yeah.
varied schedules.
Mhm.
Because. They all either have multiple jobs or they have other life responsibilities going on. So, you know, that's their availability is limited. And the hours that we can give them are limited. There's also the fact that they're at-will employees. They can go at they can leave at any time. And often they do for benefited jobs elsewhere. And that is great and we support them in that, but that there's relatively high turnover, and so when I am faced with. Do I give responsibility for running the makerspace programs or running a homework center to an hourly staff member? I make that choice very carefully based on the fact that that staff member might say next week,
They're gone.
I'm out of here, or it might say next week, hey, don't schedule me for a month, I got a family thing. And we go, great, cool. So, yes, you're absolutely,
Yes.
there are, that's why a benefited staff, they get more stake, more buy-in. We get more consistency.
Yeah, where your predictability for
Yeah.
everybody. Is
I
there-
set my benefit staff schedule.
Yeah. Is there a way to maybe get creative about how you use the temporary hourly staff in a different way that is more predictable? Is there a way to get contractually?
Yeah, it's tough.
Is there more that we could explore
No.
or help with
Frankly,
that? Okay,
It's hard, that situation is really hard for us to, we've had a lot of. I would prefer not to have such a reliance on hourly staff, I would prefer to have. Benefited employees for a couple of reasons, it's the right thing to do for the area, you can't hardly live in this area on the salary of a full-time benefited. Library employee, and it's impossible to do it as an hourly employee. But it's just, that's not the reality that I've got, so we've been pretty creative with how we schedule, how we,
I have a very, very sophisticated scheduling system at this point. Which makes the best possible use of the staff members that we have at our disposal. Part of what we do at our library is that we cross-train everyone in all areas of the library. So it's basically a plug-and-play situation. Any hourly staff member, pretty much, with the exception of story time, which is an extra skill set, which is why we have a training program for it. Can be plugged in, oh, somebody's called out, okay, you're on that desk now, because everybody knows how to work all of the desks. Everybody knows how to do back end, part of their responsibility.
and that's
This is
not.
unusual.
Yeah, that's not usual.
This is very unusual, we are super de-siloed, and this is the strategy that I have developed over the years that I've spent in this job to maximize the capacity of the hourly staff. So I know what I'm talking about.
is this happening anywhere else that you know of?
I haven't seen it, not to
Not
the
to the
extent that we do it, like most libraries have teams within the
Some are
library,
extremely siloed,
yeah.
some are more loosey-goosey. When I'm interviewing hourly staff who've worked at other libraries, and I'm interviewing them for positions here, I try to kind of sense what situations they've been in before. And I'll get a variety of answers. Sometimes it'll be like, oh, that sounds so exciting. I really am like very much have to stay in my lane at my current job. Sometimes I'll get, oh yeah, that's how whatever county in Nebraska I came from does it. So, I mean, there's all sorts of ways of doing this. I'm not saying that I'm like recreating or that I'm creating the wheel or creating sliced bread here or something. I know that somebody else has had this idea too. And it's a spectrum. I don't know, but I think in this area, probably
You
this
see it,
is the solution that I have come up with to the constraints that have been placed upon our scheduling.
I was gonna say, I've seen it more, that sort of jack of all tradesness in very small and.
Yeah,
rural
small
libraries. And usually the bigger the organization gets, the more specialized
Right.
functions.
The way that we do it isn't scalable. It wouldn't work at Palo Alto, for example. They're bigger. They've got 5 libraries. It would not. the way that we cross-train everyone and the way that our scheduling works for us because it was designed for us. It would probably be scalable smaller. It wouldn't be scalable bigger. We would have to come up with a different solution.
Discussion. Any other questions or comments?
So,
We're gonna talk about this again
yes,
next.
and so what I've got for things to bring back, and this is always, you can always reach out. And I'll talk to the chair and vice chair when we're looking at next month's meeting, but I'm looking at finding 10 hours from sometime before the pandemic so that we can compare maybe 1819 and 1920. Try that. It's, No, but that's the main one. As I talked with Ronnie about, how the meeting went tonight, she might have some ideas. Hearing from your comments and questions about things that she could bring back. So we'll look at bringing something else, probably more kind of looking ahead. As I hear more during the budget, development process. And we did hear at that mid-year budget meeting at the end of February that they were predicting a deficit citywide of $2.5 million. So something that's in the back of my head, and I know things go different ways throughout the budget when they finally close the books. Sometimes that gets bigger, sometimes it gets smaller. But I think they're not liking the trend lines of a couple of different things, one of them being the payback of the vehicle license fees from the state. And the other one being, the other unknown is sort of there's a legal case about the utility users tax. That hasn't been settled definitively yet, so the city was kind of budgeting for losing the most amount of money in that process, and maybe it turns out they won't. So those are the two kind of things that I'm paying attention to and that I'm listening to. And when we're in that council goal setting meeting on Saturday, it's something I'll be kind of listening for is to hear what the council members are kind of thinking about that, because they've heard it as well. So if they have ideas and things that they're going to suggest, that's here's for
Okay, great, well, thank you, Bob.
Sure.
For your comments. And this ties into our next thing we could talk about, E3. The fiscal year 2026-27 budget process time.
Yeah, I think I already sort of talked about this, but this is kind of a rehash of the last one. I said, well, let's not say a rehash, it's a reprise, and with a couple of more notes in there about the capital improvement program budget formation. So that is coming up in the next couple of months. And that is where the council and the public works departments sit down and kind of prioritize amongst the many different capital projects that are out there. One that I know that came up earlier this year was the bike pedestrian undercrossing right here on Alm Street. And the council did vote to put some more money down towards that to develop those plans further along to get them to 90% done, which I think makes them much more attractive to granting agencies. So, but that it was a matter of several millions of dollars to get them to that point. Believe it or not, it's a lot of money to move those complicated plans along. So that's all that really is tremendously different. Is I added the CIP stuff in and just sort of updated some dates where I had dates for so I'll just maybe I'll keep that on if there's something new for our April meeting, I'll keep that on. Otherwise, I'll just fold it into the department updates.
So, you could ask for public comment, your question, and maybe.
Any public comment on item E3, the fiscal year 26-27 budget process?
Mine's just a clarification on the paragraph on the 5-year capital improvement plan. Talk about how. It incorporates the priorities that are identified through the city council's annual priority setting workshop. Is that the one that's discussed today?
Yeah.
Okay, and the May 12th is a follow-up to
Yeah.
that just focuses on the capital improvement.
Exactly.
Okay, so the.
Right, so they do have a special meeting where they talk about the capital improvement program. As its own thing, not as part of the bigger, wider budget. I mean, it does, for instance, there's been a focus on the city council on safe routes to school. And that has informed a lot of the kind of capital projects, the redoing of Middle Avenue and some other things that have happened, recently. Yes.
Just a question on the city deficit that I'd heard about too. Do you think that in response to that, would be considering a hiring freeze?
I think that's possible. But which positions that would entail, usually they're a little, to me, this deficit doesn't look like a flat hiring across the board freeze. It looks more like they could probably be a little selective about which ones they could and won't fill at this time. So that's my take on it.
Okay, yeah, I mean, obviously I'm asking about potentially the library
I
and
don't
community services
think that
director.
they would
maybe
leave, I don't
they
think
can-
that they would leave a department head position unfilled unless things were really, really bad. And the last time they've been that bad, they cut one department, and
Yeah.
they merged the department, so, we're nowhere near that.
Okay.
We're nowhere near that, so that is not something that I expected.
That's good.
Yeah, it's good.
Any other questions or comments before we go to the next agenda item? So now we're on to the tentative agenda calendar, which is E4.
This up on the screen for you guys. Here we are in March, look at all of those things in April. So, some of them are, sort of just a heads up, like, new members will be appointed in April. I don't know if it will be before that April 20th meeting or after. It might be, I think there's an April 24th meeting of the city council. We will get that annual commission attendance report. We probably will bring back something about the budget. I've said things in this meeting, in the last couple of meetings where I was talking about my kind of approach to the budget for this coming year is kind of a status quo budget, because there's so much changing right now in the department, and didn't know if I'm formulating the budget for another person, and so you just kind of want to be a little extra cautious. But we can bring back some more sort of looking ahead information if possible next month. This is just a reminder item, the LC work plan prior year progress report. And I think it's just another mnemonic for us as a commission to look at our work plan goals for the previous year, and have we done them, have we not done them, should we refocus? It's just a good time to do that, so I think we can do that for next month. And then I think I heard that we will have some more information from the District 1 Library Outreach report out. Trying to think if there's anything else that I've got bubbling that is important. Can't think of anything right now. It's pretty much kind of budget. Yeah. But if there's anything that you guys would like to consider adding, let me know. Chair, vice chair.
It's good. Next we move to commission reports. Would any commissioner like to make a short report out on items of interest to the entire commission?
I have something very small. I was reading the American Library Association Quarterly, I wanna say it was. And they had a thing that was like 5 good news stories about libraries. And one of them was that most of the funding for libraries that was cut last year by the federal government has been restored.
Yes.
Because they lost the lawsuit about whether or not they were allowed to cut it. So just a piece of good news that all the, I know it didn't affect us very much, but yeah.
I just had a question, clarification. The meeting this Saturday it's probably posted somewhere. Do we know what time?
Yes,
10 to 2.
10 to 2, and it will be in the city council chambers.
Right. Okay.
I don't know if it'll get snacks, but. Hey, it's 10 to 2, it's kind of an important time.
I think they had.
Some little snacks or whatever.
Yeah, we could sell some and raise money for the library.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, but I have a few announcements if everybody else, let everybody else go first.
One small update, that is sort of tangentially related to the Friends of the library. There was a gatehouse study session on February 24th. And part of what they discussed was having the gatehouse be utilized by, the Friends as well as the historical society.
Menlo
Menlo Park
Parks Historical
Association. And I believe that they're going to renew the lease under new terms with the Junior League. But the Junior League president spoke at that meeting. I zoomed to watch some of this. And she was very encouraging and wanting to work with the Friends of the Library as well as the Historical Association. But I'm just passing that along, and I did pass that information along to Steve Haas, the president of the Friends, so he's aware of that. They meet quarterly, they have their next meeting on April 13th. And so I anticipate at our next meeting, maybe I'll be able to update you more with some developments.
So my brief comments, one looking back, one looking ahead. Friday night was bookish trivia night at the library, which was very successful. It's the first time they tried using a sort of free ticketing system because of the overwhelm that happened the time before. A happy overwhelm, but an overwhelm. We ran out of snacks, and it's not something we used to do. And trivia night especially. More than 100 people.
Well, so the time before, we got 102, and that was too many. It was delightful that they all wanted to come, but it was just too many people for the space. So we limited it this time, we capped the list at 75. I think we ended up with maybe 78 people, maybe 80. But it was just right. It was just right for the space. The ticketing system worked with very few glitches. It was, we've used this a few times now, so it's nice to sort of feel like we're getting a handle on it. It was a good solid trivia. Ran a little over, but on time, but I think people eat that.
What are the demographics of who comes to trivia?
Delightfully wide.
Yeah. It's a
Delightfully
pretty
wide.
great mix, and as someone who's shown up to a few of these sort of as a free agent, it's kind of a really nice way to meet.
Yeah.
People, like, if you don't come with a set team, you just get put together with whoever happens to be sitting at the table that you're sitting at, so.
We 25 to 85 years old would be our spread.
Yeah.
Solidly. Adult, we do, it is an after hours event, we serve wine and beer, we do part of the nice thing about the ticketing system is in order to have an account to sign up for a ticket, they need to be over 21. Or I think they need to, I think, but they need to sign a thing that says. I am of age, so that is nice.
What percentage comes as a team versus solo?
Most, I think, come with at least a friend. But we do, every time we get a few lone people who get absorbed, which is always nice. We had 13 teams on Friday the 13th.
There you go. And looking ahead, this weekend is Friends of the Library Quarterly Book Sale, Friday the 20th in the afternoon and Saturday, a half day. So after you, or maybe before you, well, kind of, I'm in a break from the city council goals that accepted, you could grab a sandwich.
Excellent. Anything else? All right, I think we're ready to gavel out. Meeting is adjourned at 8 p.m.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.